Malachi, for those of us who may or may not be super familiar with the area, what is the District Detroit? Where exactly is this happening? Maybe give us some familiar landmarks so people can orient themselves.
Largely what people envision when they think of District Detroit is kind of this no man's land in between downtown Detroit and the area that folk kind of refer to as Midtown now. A lot of empty parking lots, a lot of kind of vacant land that's been, deciding. There's been some decisions on what to do with it that have been kind of cooking for a while, as we'll kind of get into.
As we're talking about this, what is being developed? Who are the players in this? And what stage are we at? Are we planning? Has the ground been broken? Where are we at with that?
Yeah, so in a lot of ways, we are kind of right back at the beginning of where we started with District Detroit. This is a new vision for the area that has long been kind of under the control of the Ilitch family. Their development firm, Olympia Development, and Stephen Ross of the University of Michigan fame, and a pretty influential developer in New York City. His development firm, related companies, are kind of teaming up to release this new vision for the District Detroit area. As far as where we're at right now, I mean, things haven't really progressed very far. We have some renderings of what they would like to do in the area. We have designs for hotels and office buildings and some of the restaurants and things like that. But no shovels are in the dirt yet. They haven't secured any of the public financing that they'll likely rely on to make this happen.
As these developments are being proposed, as plans are being made, the companies who are doing this development have to interact with, the local communities and the residents that they're building these things and doing all this construction around. So where is the process at with that? Have there been talks with any community organizations, and how is that panning out so far?
Yeah, so Detroit, like some other large cities, but kind of unique in Michigan, we have what's called the Community Benefits Ordinance, which kind of outlines a process where developers, if they're going to seek public money to finance their projects, if they're going to seek tax breaks, incentives, these kinds of things that we usually give large developers when they're working on, big downtown projects like this. Before they are approved for that financing, they have to go to the community and they have to meet with a council of community members and talk with them about, what is the impact of this development going to be on the area? How can they negotiate some things that create some positive benefit?
In thinking about that relationship that has to be developed, have you gotten a chance to speak with any of the residents, any of the people who are going to be in these impacted areas? And if so, what is the general sentiment? Because a lot of times when developments are happening in Detroit, a big concern is making sure that yes, it does benefit the community, but that the community who is currently there has the ability to remain and have a voice in that. So what have you heard from the residents in the area?
Well, first off, I think it's important to note that this announcement kind of landed with a collective eye roll in Detroit. Folks have, as we've alluded to in this conversation, heard this before from the Ilitch family. These big aspirational projects for shiny buildings and new restaurants and new hotels. Sounds great on paper. People have kind of heard similar things before out of the Ilitch family when it comes to this part of the city and don't have much to show for it over the last decade. So I think there's a lot of skepticism just, at a starting point, and that's going to be something developers will have to work through.
What specifically are you going to be keeping your eye on as these developments develop?
Well, we talked about the community benefits. So I think that's a big piece. What is the community going to ask for? And how is that going to be formalized in an agreement? And how is that agreement going to be enforced long term? If development plans change, will the city hold developers to their commitments there? In the larger context too of just Detroit talking about the merits of giving tax breaks to some of these more wealthy developers. Obviously, the Ilitch family has quite a bit of capital and resources to work with, right? So is it justified that they ask for the taxpayer to provide some help? The city had this huge conversation over the summer about Dan Gilbert and the Hudson site. And I think we're going to go through a similar kind of process, right? People are really kind of keyed in now about what do we get out of these agreements? And, particularly for the neighborhoods that are maybe touching this area, But certainly for neighborhoods further outside of the downtown, people are really wondering, like, what is the benefit for us? This seems to be kind of concentrating the economic impact within the downtown area. There's not as much spillover, to some of these commercial corridors or other areas where, Detroiters, longtime residents, locally owned businesses are really in play. People are going to look for that kind of access in these new developments in the district of Detroit. Okay, you say you're going to allow some retail space. Does that mean local retailers are going to be able to take advantage of that opportunity? Or does that mean, businesses from the outside of the community are going to come set up shop here? So, as always with these things in the public arena, there are winners and losers, and finding out who those winners are going to be and who maybe won't benefit as much from this is really kind of the meat of what we're going to be tuned into.